Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm a teacher of somatic techniques, including somatic yoga, who specializes in anxiety and its bodily symptoms. And today I would like to invite you to discover your body as if you were embodying it for the first time ever. So it's all about connection with your body. You can begin by rolling yourself down onto the ground. You could be on the mat or directly on the carpet or on the blanket. And you can begin with moving in any way that feels good for you. It might mean anything really. Whatever I'm doing right now is more an inspiration. But think of moving in a way that feels good, that your body feels like craving for, that your body is kind of really soft and like branches of a tree in the wind. And you use minimal effort to maybe stretch or maybe rock or roll. You will see what the body might be craving for. Maybe you want to extend your arms and legs, maybe just the other one, another way around. You want to make yourself into a ball. Maybe you want to let everything float freely. See what feels good. It's your practice. You could use your own body even to massage yourself against the ground. Depending on how close your knees are, you're gonna massage more your back or more the sacral area. And after you felt that you've done everything that your body might possibly need so that you land more comfortably on the ground, you can slowly stretch out your legs and stay in this position. And then imagine that you just landed in that body for the first time ever, and you're exploring what could move in your body and in what directions. Starting with moving the toes in your right foot, wiggling the toes only. How they can move, in which directions, maybe independently of one another. And after you've explored that, you could start moving the entire foot. So maybe flexing and extending your ankle, maybe twisting the ankle outward and inward, or making circles with the ankle. You might already start noticing how that movement travels up your leg. What happens in your lower leg when you move your ankle. And then eventually you could move to your knee joint and notice how it would be when you bend the knee, depending on in what rotation the leg is. If it's externally rotated, if it's internally rotated, you still bend the knee exactly the same way, but it gives different sensations each time. You could even let your foot float off the ground, and then you would obviously need to use more of the strength from your core. And then after you explored the knee itself, you could start exploring also the connection with your hip, how the leg, the thigh rotates outward and inward. You could do it with the foot floating off the ground. You could do it with the foot resting on the mat, and maybe notice what happens when you push away with the foot, how much more range of movement it gives you, what engages, how it affects your hips and your spine. You could draw full circles with the knee in the air, noticing the sensations in the hip joint. And then let's explore also what happens if you extend the leg upwards towards the sky, how different muscles engage. How is it to move exactly the same parts of the body, the toes and the ankles, when the leg is up? And after you've explored all of that, you could let that foot rest on the mat and maybe give the weight through that foot and notice what lifts, what reacts to this movement. Maybe you feel something in the hips, maybe in the back, maybe all the way to the head. And if you do it on the diagonal, how different will that be? What will be the sensation in the side body, in the spine? You keep on exploring, like a child, playing with your own body. And then let's see what happens with that other leg. Again, you could start with moving your toes, wiggling them in the air, and then exploring the ankle, flexing, extending, twisting, circling. And then let's go farther to the knee. How it is if you slide the leg along the mat. How different it would be if you change the angle of the leg, if you rotate it inward or outward. Each time it gives you different sensations. You could even initiate that movement from different parts of the body. You could initiate it from the foot, you could initiate it from the knee. How is it if you lift the foot off the ground? What new sensations arise in the torso? You can move the leg in and out, keep the foot on the ground or in the air. Check that rotation in the hip and notice how it affects the other leg, your torso, your spine. Maybe make those little circles with the knee in the air. And then how is it to extend the leg upwards? And remember, you're not doing it to reach anywhere or to push yourself. You're just exploring what is easy for you. You're playful. It should still be pleasant and just like fun. How it is to move your foot and ankle when it's in the air. Once you have enough, you can let that foot land and give the weight for the foot or push away with that foot and notice what it moves, how it moves your pelvis, how it moves your spine. And how it would be if you moved it into a twist, if you reached on the diagonal, pushing away with that foot. And if you push with both feet, what happens to your pelvis and the spine then? What if you drag the heels towards your pelvis? How different is that? What if you push vertically down and your pelvis slightly lifts off the ground? And then let's check other limbs. You can start moving your fingers and maybe closing and opening the hand, bending the wrist, circling the wrist, and then going farther to the elbow, extending and bending the elbow, moving the entire forearm, maybe rotating the shoulder inward and outward. How is it to extend the arm over the head? How it is to have it by your side? What happens when you rotate the shoulder upward and when you press it into the ground? And how is it to lift the arm? Imagine as if something was pulling you by the arm. Feel that shoulder blade lifting. Maybe you can even move across the midline of the body and feel the shoulder blade lifting off the ground. So many various ways you could move your arm. And then go to the other one. Fingers, hand, wrist. Explore all ranges of movement, all directions, dimensions. Elbow bending, extending. Your shoulder moving inward and outward. Your entire arm rolling in and out. How is it when the arm is on the ground and how different it is, how much more engagement it needs to lift up towards the sky or maybe across the midline. And there's so much mobility. You can make that circular movement with your arm starting from the shoulder joint. So explore all of that. And then you could lift both arms and maybe cross the arms over. Notice how it is to lift one shoulder blade at a time, how it affects your upper body, your rib cage, your spine. what happens when you have both arms over the head, how it affects the rib cage, the chest. And then you can let the arms rest and notice how your head can move. So you might be rolling the head from side to side. And you could be rotating it around its own axis, which is slightly different movement. You could move the chin up towards the sky and then bring it towards the chest. And how is it to move the whole spine together with the hips? Arch the spine up towards the sky and then press the whole spine into the mat. Maybe you want to explore also the whole rotation of the spine as you twist, as you let your knees drop to one side and let them drop to the other side. Sensations in the legs, hips, torso, spine. And then land with the arms long, legs long, and open one side of the body and the other side to explore all the directions in which the spine can move. There's also side bending, making one side longer than the other side shorter. And then finally rest in an X shape with the arms apart, legs apart. And then you can bend one arm and slide the hand along the other arm, and that hand would be pulling the rest of the body with it. So there's this spiraling motion going across the body. And if you want to return, you start from the opposite foot and that leg drags you back. You roll onto your back again. So it's the hand starting, you slide it along the other arm all the way to the hand, and then the spine rotates in that spiraling motion. To undo it, you could begin with the foot and end with the hand. And why not? You could start also with the leg going across the midline, pulling with it the arm, the hip, rolling all the way to the front, and then unrolling, starting with the hand, ending with the leg. You could bend the knees again and make any movements at all that you feel like doing, like being really playful, maybe resting your hands or your feet on the ground and pushing away to notice what happens to the torso as you do that. Maybe just rotating. Really being playful. There's no particular movement you want to make. You're just exploring possible shapes. You could also let all your limbs float up to the sky and then circle them in the air and wiggle your fingers and toes, ankles, knees, elbows. Everything really floaty. Everything really free. Spiraling motions. And then you could land with your feet on the ground again. One more time, stretch out one leg and the other, rest on your back. Notice what changed in the body. It might have landed in a very different place and it might feel very different inside out. And after you've given yourself time to notice it, you might want to roll to the side and then very slowly come up to sitting. So I hope you really enjoyed this playful attitude, that curiosity towards your own body combined with gentleness. And I invite you to subscribe to my channel and also to my newsletter, which I'm going to link below. I'm looking forward to see you next time. Thank you very much.